Today is Google's birthday.
Wow, that's amazing. Congratulations, Google. You already own my life. I'm not going to get you a birthday present. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Adcast, a podcast for the study of modern visual culture. Back together, it's your host, Soup.
And Renu.
Hello, welcome. This week,
It's been a hot sec.
Yeah, it has been really a long time. This week, A stands for Ancillary Talk, because, we haven't, aside from playing D&D, we haven't really spoken to each other in, a month. So we have to do some catch-up. And, If you like the beginning bit of the podcast episode where we talk about everything that's not related to the actual topic, this is it. This is the whole episode.
It's fine, because,
For you.
I'm sure we'll cover, at least I will cover a bit of media, so there's at least some modern visual culture there.
Oh, but I've been immersed in media.
There you go.
Just, nothing that has been overlapping with probably what you've been indulging in.
Right.
So.
And I think rather than lumping all of this together in a topic episode and spending 2 hours talking about ourselves and then another 2 hours talking about the topic, we might as well have its own episode.
Yeah. Also, I have basically had zero time to watch anything for the podcast.
Same.
So
Yeah.
Here we are.
Yeah.
Since this is the meat of the episode, why don't we get right into it? What have we been up to? What have you been up to? Because you've been gone.
I've been out of the country.
Yeah, and you didn't tell any of us until you were leaving.
I lost track of who I told and who I didn't. So
I did not know. Which might have been handy for the podcast.
Listen, I told you before I left, okay? I told you the week I was leaving, so you had a week to prepare.
Yeah, well, to be fair, I had a week to prepare, and I'm pretty sure there was some other stuff going on in my life.
Yeah.
And I was waffling about whether to do something or not, and I ended up just not having time to do anything, which is kind of a bummer. So, kind of locked myself out of that week. Yeah. So, how was Europe?
So for people who don't know, I went to visit Vienna, Austria, and it was my first.
Austria's
it
great.
was my first time in Europe in general. So yeah, it was
Were you
really
just
cool.
in Austria?
For the most part, yeah. We stopped by the London airport for a layover, but that's it. Otherwise, we were in Austria. Yeah. For a whole week, so that was
That's
a whole
nice.
lot of fun. Yeah,
I spent 5 days in Austria.
Did
when
you?
I went to
Oh
Europe.
yeah, that's right. During your Euro trip.
Yeah, during my Euro trip, because I have a friend that lives there, and that's when I almost got lost at the Slovakian
Yes, I
border.
remember.
It was the whole time.
Wait, which line were you on that you ended up riding all the way to the end of?
I don't remember. It's not that I rode till the end of the line necessarily, but I just ran until they stopped running it. So I don't think I got off the last stop. I think they just stopped running the trains. Because I'm fairly certain that some nice Spanish man told me that I was on the wrong line. I was like, oh, shite. Oh, no.
Oh no.
Well, at any rate, that sounds fun. What'd you do?
So we ended up going there because my 5-year-old niece won an apparently really important piano competition in Chicago.
What?
And so yeah, she got first prize in her age group. And so they were it was apparently this whole series of competitions, and so they invited all of the first and second prize winners to play at this grand prize ceremony in in Vienna in one of their
Sorry, did you say
yeah.
5 years old?
Yeah, she's 5.
Okay, I don't know how to deal with the fact that you're like, what, your niece?
Yeah.
Your 5-year-old niece is more talented on piano than I will ever be.
I know, me too.
I don't know how to deal with that. Like, 5 years old, really? At 5, I was useless.
I know. I was like,
I couldn't do anything at 5.
I was learning how to ride a bike with training wheels at 5, and
I didn't even do that until I was in middle school.
Yeah, so she was definitely the smallest one up there because like they lined up at the end to like give them like the medals or whatever. And there she was, like the itty bittiest. And what was funny about it was like, so at first they had like all these performances. Everyone performed their winning piece or whatever. And so at the end they gave the medals, and she stood up there. She was just like, she didn't know what to do because it was obviously something that they hadn't rehearsed. And so she walks up there, she gets the medal, and then she stands up there, and then everyone's like clapping, like, yay. And then everyone steps off the stage, but she didn't understand that she was supposed to leave the stage. And so she just kind of hung out there, looking at her medal, looking at the crowd.
Oh,
it was so funny. It was so cute. And so then I had to run up there real quick and like usher her off the stage.
oh. So, hang on. Okay, so
yeah.
How wide was that age bracket? I have to know.
For her age group, I don't know actually. I know that there were other kids there who were about her age. And then it basically ranged from like, you know, itty bitty my niece to like older adults. So they had quite a range. Yeah. That's
so fucking wild to me, because at 5 years old, to be good enough to win a competition, like, I'm assuming that the piano playing itself was not bad. You were there to listen, right?
Yes. Her mom is her coach, and so her mom's actually really, really skilled in music and a good teacher. And so like I know that she had like a couple of like maybe like 1 or 2 mistakes that she was having trouble ironing out. But the thing about my niece is that she's such a perfectionist, is that, and so like, even though like she'll practice for like, you know, 2 or 3 hours, like a day kind of thing, she'll get really like, I need to like get this right kind of feeling, you know?
Oh my goodness.
And she's 5.
That's too much. That's too much for a 5-year-old child.
It's like a lot for me to handle.
I mean, surely like the work ethic will be beneficial later on, but like every other part of that is just stressful to think about. That's right. There's some deep-seated like things happening here that I'm not sure how I feel about, because
yeah, same. I have mixed feelings about it too, and it's like, and of course her parents are aware of it in terms of how much they should encourage her versus how much they should just let her be a kid, right? Like they don't ever want her to get to a point where she hates piano or hates, you know.
Well, like the thing about that is like at 5 years old, she's basically spent like 80% of her life doing piano.
Right.
That is like so wild to me.
Like I think she only began like actually practicing every day when she was 4. And then, of course, her mom played piano, like, you know, since before she was born. And so she would, you know, hear piano and then kind of like play on the keys when she was like, you know, old enough to like hold her head up, right?
I will have you know that I've been practicing piano for 1/5 of my life.
Yeah.
How old are you? 5.
5.
Kids can't even talk at 5 years old.
Excuse you, she talks in complete sentences and knows how to be the boss, okay? No, goodness. She's crazy. And then there's my nephew, who he is 3, and he just learned how to play hot cross buns, and it's so cute.
Oh, that's precious.
But yeah, they're good kids.
Someone is raising wonder children.
They're really great. I don't know, like what is it? It was so funny because she was the first to play in this line of performances, and because there were a bunch of grand prize winners there, and the pieces would get longer and longer as you increase in age group, right? They the whole ceremony, like in totality, was like 4 hours long.
Jesus
and
Christ.
I know it was such a long time, but the music was obviously really beautiful. And she was the very, very first person to play. And so she kind of like, she kind of waddles up to the piano, plays her piece, like basically just like she did in practice, like earlier that morning, and then waddles off the stage. It was funny because like the reason she was waddling like legs far apart and waddling up to the piano was because my sister-in-law had instructed her like that she has a habit of running to the piano, so she wants her to walk up slowly to the piano this time. And so apparently my niece's interpretation of that is to spread her legs and kind of like penguin waddle to the piano.
That's so good. I love that.
Yeah, and of course, like 4 hours is a freaking long time to keep like a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old occupied and not making noise or any kind of disruption. And so her parents were continuously like kind of feeding her and my nephew gummies throughout the whole throughout the whole ceremony. It was so funny. So there's a lot of juxtaposition between her playing a piano like a boss and then her being 5. But yeah, other than that, we of course went sightseeing to all the palaces in Austria. We went to some of the cathedrals. I took a bajillion pictures. We also, on the day before the last day we were there, we went to Salzburg, which was where they filmed The Sound of Music.
The Sound of Music.
Yeah.
It's actually funny is that the friend I was visiting in Austria is from Salzburg. So I wasn't sure whether to get my plane ticket for Salzburg or for Vienna, but it turns out they were staying in Vienna, so.
Okay. Did you go get to see it? Or did you stay
I never
mostly in
went.
Vienna?
I never went.
Okay.
I spent most of my time in I went looking around in Vienna though. So
yeah.
You know,
okay.
that was like 5 days of my trip.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a very, very pretty place. It's
yeah.
I think the architecture of it is quite interesting. It actually, this is kind of a funny thing. It kind of reminds me of San Francisco, not gonna lie. I think it has to do with some of the natural inclines and the way that the buildings are all just squished together.
Yeah.
So to me, it just looks like certain neighborhoods in San Francisco if you just like added a story or two.
Right. Yeah, I can see what you mean. And it feels like, it was funny. My dad was walking around with us and he was basically like, is everyone here like Catholic or something? Because they have a lot of cathedrals.
Yeah, I mean, Europe.
Yeah, but
historically true.
They're pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
no, it's gorgeous just to walk down the street. Yeah.
Yeah, it is super, super pretty, very, very clean.
Yeah.
The only thing is that for whatever reason, like Austria specifically, everybody loves to smoke.
Yes, we noticed that too. And
yes,
they had
there's
these
there's so much smoke.
They have these like giant like ashtray things that are like designed to look like cigarette packs so that people know where to throw their cigarettes when they're done. But yeah, everyone there feels like that they all smoke. And I mean, obviously not everyone, but a large majority of people there smoke.
Well, that was very interesting because it was, it was the first time that I had experienced that when I was in Europe. Because obviously people smoke a lot in Europe, but like I feel like the places that they do are like France, Italy, and apparently Austria. Like apparently they're just sucking those things down. But yeah, that sounds like fun. That sounds like fun.
They do them. They get drunk on the weekends and then they smoke during the day. It's fine.
It's very European thing to do.
Very, very European. And They wear sneakers everywhere. Oh my gosh, Soupy. I ain't see like the only high heels I saw on anyone was like a lady from another country, like a foreigner. Otherwise, it was everyone in sneakers, and I was just like, this is my kind of city.
I was gonna say, you know what? That's admirable.
Yeah.
That's admirable. Yeah, it's a very pretty place. Very pretty place.
Yeah.
I think it was probably one of the prettiest places that I went to see.
Yes, it's gorgeous. I really enjoyed our time there. Yeah, I highly recommend visiting if anyone out there gets the chance to visit Europe and you haven't yet.
I definitely agree. I definitely agree.
Oh my gosh, and they're definitely a meat and potatoes country. Everything.
Oh yeah.
Like if you get veggies, it's a side salad. Otherwise, it's meat and potatoes.
I was gonna say I had a lot of meat when I was there.
Yeah.
My friend took me to a place, which I guess was like a little amusement park or something. I don't remember if we went on any rides or anything, but one of their things is they just serve like a big ham hock, which was very tasty. But there was so much ham hock, and I eat so little. It was intimidating.
You eat so little, but you love food so much.
I do. I love food so much. I think the problem is that there's only like so much room in my stomach because I don't really like exercise or anything. And then beyond that, like, it's very easy for my palate to get bored, so I can't eat a lot of one thing.
Yeah. I get you. It's the same with me.
Like, to me, a lot of little things is kind of ideal, which is why I really like tapas and like izakayas and stuff like that.
Same. Mm-hmm.
Well, that's very interesting. I unfortunately didn't know about this until like a week before, and at that point, I'm fairly certain that the reason for this is because I just couldn't find time to slot like anything in. And I think it was mostly because I'm fairly certain Borderlands 3 launched like, no, it must have been before then. What was I doing?
It was before Borderlands launched.
What was I doing?
You had messaged me about like a potential anime to talk about.
Yeah, that was when I learned that you couldn't make it.
Yeah, and that was when I told you. I was just like, I won't be here.
Yeah. Yeah, I was waffling about certain things, and I ended up just not having time, I think because I was doing something. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know if I was just, like, wasting all my time playing Fire Emblem or whatever. That's a very likely story. But I just kind of didn't really have the time to do anything for that. And I waffled about it for so long that I just ended up not being able to do anything anyway, and then, like, it became like 4 a.m. and I was like, crap. I guess I'll just record this.
It's okay.
It's okay.
So what have you been up to?
I feel like I've been up to a lot and a little because obviously I also disappeared for like a week.
Yeah.
And that was actually quite sudden. There was not a lot of lead up to it, mostly because so here's the way that this all worked out, right? Like, I was like, or you know what, I think my dad prompted this conversation. Actually, I think my dad was like, when is your partner gonna come down again? And I was like, I don't know, like late October. He's like, well, do you wanna fly up to Oregon to see him? And I was like, I mean, if you're offering to pay for like a plane ticket, I won't say no. So he's like, just book that plane ticket, and then we'll do it. So I was like, okay. And so I booked it like a week or two before, and then I just went.
What? Wait. Okay.
So
wait. Where did this come from?
What do you mean? What?
Your dad, just like all of a sudden.
Well, okay. So I think it was because my dad just closed like a really good deal on a house he was fixing up. Because he's a realtor, so. Oh
right, the house you were breaking your back over.
The terrible hell house that was just
Well, I'm glad he was able to sell
fucking
it.
horrifying. Yeah, and apparently we made like more than we expected to on the sale. So my dad was like, "Well, we got a little bit of money if you just want to like, go and do stuff." I was like, that's I mean, I won't say no. Like you're offering to send me on vacation, I'm not going to say no. So
I mean, I think that's a nice reward for all your backbreaking labor.
Yeah. So I basically spent the last week in Oregon. I got home yesterday.
Yes.
Yeah. I got home yesterday, and we would have recorded this. Okay. So we're recording this on the 26th, the Thursday. So I got home on the 25th, the Wednesday, and we would have recorded then, but you have D&D on that day.
Yeah, I also wouldn't have wanted to record on the day that you got back from vacation anyway.
Yeah,
So-
that's very fair. I was pretty tired. I didn't
Yeah.
really have an idea for a thing.
Right.
But yeah. I spent the last week in Oregon, and I had a pretty good time, I would say.
Oh, good. Yay.
I had a good time. It was pretty relaxing. A lot of it was just spent lying around, which was actually so nice. Like, I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, legit though, like vacations are so exhausting. So when you can actually relax during a vacation, that's like golden.
Yeah. I mean, we went to some ramen. I had pretty good ramen actually.
Ramen.
It was pretty good ramen. Like, I would say that it is. The place that I was taken was very like it's a very like daily sort of like a daily driver, but for ramen or like food, I guess. Like, it's the kind of ramen that I would be able to eat for like lunch for a couple days in a row, right? Like, it's not like when I go to some other places where it's just like, oh, I'm like gonna wait in line for like 40 minutes and then gorge myself on food and then go home and pass out, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is very much a like I had a very like tasty, filling, and satisfying lunch.
Yeah.
And the noodles were really good actually. They were hand formed, so that was
yum.
really nice. We went to a couple an izakaya and a couple other bars, which was fun. Because I don't really do a lot of bar hopping, but that was a fun time. I got taken bar hopping by my partner's parents.
Oh, that's
Okay.
cute and kind of odd.
Well, okay, so here's
Okay.
this was okay. I got very drunk that night because
Okay.
we started the night by going to an Oktoberfest.
Okay.
Which was super fun. We had some bratwurst, some pretzels, and we each got like 2 drink tickets because you get like the tickets and you trade them for the beers. And we got 2 tickets, and then we kind of sat down. And their parents came to like meet us, and we were like, "Hey, we bought 8 tickets." So basically, in practice, we all had to drink 3 beers.
Oh, that's my limit. I'm down after that, dude.
So that was where the night started.
Oh my god, no way, dude. I would already not be walking straight.
Oh, no. I was okay at that point. Like, definitely not drivable, but not like super tipsy either.
Okay.
I was just full of liquid. Like, really, most of it was just the fact that there were 3
right.
beers sitting in my stomach.
That's why I don't understand about people who can drink a whole lot. It's like, that's a lot of liquid. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
How do you process it through your body so fast?
I especially don't understand people that can drink more than like 2 or 3 beers. I'm just like,
Yeah.
there's not enough room in my stomach for that much
right,
liquid.
exactly.
But then we went and got so we tried to go to a different place.
Okay.
And the line was just too long because I think unfortunately we got there at like a Friday night. So we eventually ended up just going to like just a dive bar somewhere, and where the like basically they knew the bartender or whatever, They've just been going there forever. So we went there, and I was like, oh, you know, what do you want? We'll like buy you drinks. I was like, that's pretty cool. So I got a whiskey sour, and like a whiskey sour is whiskey, it's lemon juice, and then it's like simple syrup, so like sugar.
You're right.
And I feel like normally they don't like. Normally they come in like I don't know, like I'd say like a whiskey tumbler or like an otherwise sort of reasonably sized. This is a full glass. This was a full glass, like with some ice in it, but a full glass.
Oh, buddy.
It did taste pretty good going down. And don't worry, the story does not end up with me throwing up. But then I finished the drink at some point, and they set down another one. And this is my partner's parents.
Oh my god!
So they set down another one.
They're so real.
Oh yeah, they can drink for sure.
Wow.
So that was not the end of it though, because also at some point they just set down Jello shots.
Oh,
and we all did a Jello shot.
Oh my god, dude! I would not be alive. Roll me out in a coffin.
So anyway, we called it after that. That night, and that was I was pretty drunk. Like I was not the most drunk I'd ever been because luckily there were many hours sort of between, like it happened in the span of about 4 to 5 hours, luckily.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. But it was 2 days later when we went back to to drinking. Because we decided to go bar hopping, and we went to a nice bar where it was like a whiskey kind of bar, which was interesting. And I got something that had like blackberry moonshine in it.
Okay.
It was very tasty. It was very like it didn't taste like alcohol. It was like a soda. So we had a drink there.
Okay.
And then we kind of dipped just because I don't remember. I think someone took the menu from us. Like the dude next to us asked us for the menu, and then he put his food on top of the menu so we couldn't get it back.
All right, dude.
So we had one drink there, and we're like, I guess we'll just pay our tabs and dip. So we went to a different bar, which was really cool. They did this thing where they have like a seasonal sort of like rotating thing, like signature liquor that they use for their drinks. And then they have all the other like standard stuff. And that was actually really cool because I got it was basically a bunch of drinks made with apple brandy, and
Ooh.
it was pretty tasty, very very appley. And I had at that place I had an old fashioned and then a Sazerac, which those are basically two very similar beverages that are it's liquor, bitters, and that's kind of it.
Oh, okay.
So it's very close to being neat. So it's literally just the liquor, and then they add bitters, and then some places add sugar. This place did not. And the difference between that and a Sazerac is apparently the kind of bitters that they use, and the Sazerac has just absinthe sort of sprayed along the cup.
Alrighty.
So we had some drinks there. We stayed there for probably about an hour, I think, and then we went to an izakaya where I got some sake.
Of course.
Because of course that's what you do. It was
That's
okay.
what you do.
It was okay.
Okay.
I've had better sake, but it was. I mean, I did not pay a lot for it, so I'm not too mad about it. And then and this is maybe a mistake, but like also I'm not like I don't really regret it.
Mm-hmm.
But this was what really sent me over the edge in terms of being like just trashed. Like I definitely did get like drunker than I have been probably in years.
Okay.
Where so I went to the izakaya and we had some sake and then we're snacking on some stuff. And that was all very tasty. And I noticed that they had a whiskey on there, a Japanese whiskey called Yamazaki 18, which is it's an 18-year-old like aged whiskey, and I've always been curious to try it because my friend Adam, friend of the show Adam Coble, I'm pretty sure that's his favorite whiskey.
Oh.
Or something along those lines, or maybe it was the 25. I don't remember quite. I know it was one of those. I know he really likes the 18 though. And
okay.
I wanted to get it at the whiskey bar, but it was like $60 for a glass, which was, a lot of money. But I got it at the izakaya because it was only like $42.
Oh, okay.
Which is a lot cheaper.
Sure.
So I did that. It was very tasty. Very tasty.
Okay.
It was like kind of like, it was actually really interesting because it does like kind of weird stuff to your tongue. You like sip it and immediately kind of like prickles your tongue like something spicy.
Oh.
But then it's like really smooth when you drink it. And it's not like, I don't know if you've had like a bunch of whiskey, but you know how whiskey kind of like burns on the way down?
So I've heard. I've only had like a sip of it before.
Yeah. This was more of a gentle simmer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that was very nice. I don't regret doing that at all. But I did get super drunk because my last drink of the night was whiskey. Yeah, and then
my son.
And then the server actually came up to me later and was just like, "So how do you like the Yamazaki 18?" I was like, "Oh yeah, it was very good." And he was like, "Yeah, so like the owner I think is like a year or two behind the curve on like the price of this whiskey." I was like, I did notice it was cheaper than some of the other places I was looking at. He's like, "Yeah, but none of us want to say anything because we just get to enjoy the cheap whiskey."
Wow.
So that was interesting. And
nice.
I got just incredibly drunk that night.
Oh, buddy.
It was a good time. It was a good time. Izakayas, I think, are one of my favorite things in this world.
They're wonderful. I love them.
If you want to win your way into my heart, just take me to an izakaya.
Cheat codes.
Cheat codes. So that was mostly my trip, honestly. Other than that, like, I spent a lot of time in Powell's, the big bookstore, because, I love me some books.
Books are pretty good.
Books are pretty good. And then I got home, and, like, home, like, I flew home yesterday, and it was 100 degrees out. It was legitimately 95 to 100 degrees that day for no reason, because today it's like 70. Like, excuse me?
Welcome home.
Welcome home. Now die.
Death metal music playing.
Yeah. And the worst part about this is I have no idea where my fan is. Someone took my fan. Someone in my family took my fan with them somewhere.
We need this more than you do.
I don't know where they took it, but I want it back.
It's 95 to 100 degrees. We need this.
Jesus Christ. It was so hot yesterday. It was so hot. I want to just stick my face in the freezer. It was so hot.
Yeah, the day that I got back from Austria was also like, it was like 95% humidity here.
Oh.
And so I was just in the car, like, it was already like, I was already having to deal with the temperature difference. But then also the humidity, I was just sweating buckets. And I was like, help
Okay,
me.
I mean, to be fair though, it's like meant to be that hot over there. Whereas for here, there's no reason it should be 95 degrees. And then it left. It disappeared. It's not here
You're
today.
the reason.
So anyway.
It's fun.
Yesterday was quite something. Yeah, I mean, what else have you been up to? Because I don't want to talk forever.
You could. Let's see. What else? We also had the tropical depression Imelda here, so that was fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thankfully, it only lasted like they were predicting like it would last through the weekend or whatever, or at least like 2 days. But it only lasted like one day where it was really bad, and then
Okay.
Other than that, it was fine. Thankfully, our house did not flood because we're not in a flood zone. But though the backyard did fill up like a swamp, so that was a thing. And it took me like 2 hours to get home from work, so that was also a thing. I was quite grateful that I drive in an SUV, because if I was in a sedan, I would have taken even longer because I wouldn't have been able to navigate through some of the deeper flooded areas.
Yikes.
It was big yikes. Very exciting, very scary to drive through water that you're not sure if you'll make it through.
Wow. That's a huge yikes. I don't like that.
Yeah. It was like at door level, like bottom of the door level, and I was like, not sure if we'll make it, but there was an SUV in front of me too, so I was like, okay, well, if they don't make it, then I know I won't make it, so I'll back up.
I was gonna say, if he gets stuck, you'll be stuck together.
Yeah.
You won't be alone. You'll have a friend.
Yeah, we'll have a friend. We'll make friends that day, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm sure.
But yeah, it was quite harrowing. There were a bunch of nice people out just like walking through the waters and like telling people where is okay to drive through, which was really, really nice.
Yeah.
And yeah, they were just like walking around holding their shoes and talking to people. And oh my God, Soupy, there were so many dogs just walking out. And I was like, babies, don't you have homes? I think a lot of them were strays, or they were dogs that like, they jumped the fence because they were like, F this, it's flooded.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah.
Wild.
It was quite crazy. And thankfully the waters drained pretty quickly the next day. So if you live in Houston, just be aware, like if you're panicking and you're like, oh my gosh, the waters are rising, I gotta get out and go home or whatever, or like get on the road so that I can get to, wherever I'm trying to get to, give it like 4 to 5 hours and then see if the water goes down, because usually it will. It didn't for Harvey, because Harvey was a freaking disaster and no one expected that. But for tropical storms like this, which they happen every year, basically, I don't know, almost every year or something like this, during the rainy season, it usually goes down after a while. So stay off the road and as long as you can.
I think that's sound advice.
Yeah. So that was a thing.
Nice.
Yeah. Anything else you've been up to?
Yeah. I mean, I have been steadily making my way through the Blue Lions route of Fire Emblem Three Houses. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I have not gotten to the time skip yet. I'm getting closer. But I will say, I think that overall the writing is probably the best in that house, in that route, because I think all of the characters who, like, basically the whole school part feels like it was made for the Blue Lions, because every time you go on a mission, some character has a connection that's like, oh, that's my brother, or like, oh, that's my dad.
Oh.
So there's a lot of sort of stuff there.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say I'm looking forward to seeing how it goes post time skip, because I hear it gets pretty fucking wild.
Okay.
That will be interesting to see.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely still have a ton of issues with some of the writing in the game.
Womp womp.
But I think, yeah. I will say that I think that the Blue Lions is winning me over. Like, I think that route is written pretty strongly.
Oh, okay, that's good.
But there are like some gripes I still have with the game generally.
Sure.
Well, some of which it looks like they might try to fix with some of the DLC, because at least one thing in particular has been confirmed that would definitely be interesting if they do it well. But I'm kind of afraid that they're just gonna be like, well, it's just like, Fire Emblem Awakening DLC where the characters don't really mean anything when we put them in the DLC. I hope it's not that. I hope it actually means something.
Please let it mean something. At least make it entertaining, I guess, but like, please let it mean something for once.
Yeah. Aside from that, I've been playing Borderlands 3.
Yeah, how's that been?
It's Borderlands.
Okay, that's what I've heard is the general consensus, is that it's more Borderlands.
Yeah, I think that as far as a Borderlands game goes, what you see is what you get. Like, it's, I don't know, just fuck around with your friends, pretty much. Like,
Okay.
I will say it, I think that the game itself is an improvement on most parts of Borderlands 2.
Oh, okay, that's good.
Like, the game is more, because I think the thing is that the as the games progress, the guns get more interesting because they have more sort of like experience with building like the kind of like uniqueness of these guns, and I think they did a really good job of that in Borderlands 3. Like, every manufacturer feels very different. There are certain things that, like, I think could have been done a little bit better in that regards, but they're only minor complaints. Like, I think overall they took what was good in Borderlands 2 and they just made it better.
Yeah.
I think that the player characters are pretty interesting. Like, overall, I think they're all pretty fun.
Okay.
I'm not sure how I feel about the story yet because I haven't finished it, but like halfway through it, and I think this is probably the biggest complaint I have with the game, which is that I think the character and story writing is just weaker than it was in Borderlands 2. I think Borderlands 2 was interesting because it was a different kind of story than Borderlands 1 was, and it iterated on it in a very, very interesting way. And I think the story was actually quite good, as far as a Borderlands story is good. Just, I think that I don't know. I think it's very hard to get invested in Borderlands 3. I think that's my main issue, is that above everything else, like, it's just a lot harder for me to get into this one, it feels like.
Really?
Like, I'm having fun playing it.
Why do you think that is?
Well, okay. Part of it is that, like, Borderlands 1 and 2 have this kind of charm to them. Like, beyond the sort of like fourth grade toilet humor that makes up the vast majority of the games, and their kind of humor,
sure.
That's kind of take it or leave it. Like, you will like it or you will not, and that's fine. That's whatever. Like, it's very juvenile humor. It's like, look, I'm an NPC and you gotta shoot me in the dick or whatever.
Oh, I see.
Right, and like, you know, you find stuff in toilets and you like open up a porta potty and it's got like guns in it or whatever.
Okay.
But then, but I will say there are some like environmental storytelling jokes or like little subtle things that are actually really funny in the game. Like, the funniest joke I think in Borderlands 3, by far to me personally, the one that I remember most memorably is there's a planet that you go to that's basically like the kind of like swampy Southlands planet where it's like, yeah, everybody here speaks with a deep accent, and like they all have like, you know, 6-shooter revolvers and like shotguns. So
they're like Louisiana kind of
like sort
parody.
of Louisiana, like
right.
that sort of area.
Right.
And you know, the kind of like, you know, safari colonialism big game hunter aesthetic, right?
Oh, okay.
But the funniest thing is that all of some of the chairs, like, do you know those like kind of like fancy plush like velvet chairs?
Yes.
They have those, except the back is just very tall. It's just really big. Because like, you know, when you see the chairs like in real life, they're already quite tall, but these are just like, they hit the ceiling and
so they're just absurd.
And I don't know why, but that to me was just the funniest joke that they've had in the game.
I mean, that's fine.
Yeah. I think that it's the writing itself, I think it's not that bad. It's just hard to build investment because it's basically like, well, you know, like, what are you really invested in? Because the antagonists are like jerks, but like so is everybody else, so they kind of get muddled. Like, they're jerks and they do a lot of like bad stuff, but like so does every NPC in the entire game.
Oh, so it's like what differentiates them?
There's literally no differentiation between them other than like they are the important ones because the story says they are.
I see.
Because like every other NPC you meet is just kind of insufferable. Basically, like they're not that fun. Like I think that Borderlands 1 and 2 have a weird charm to them, like a very wonky sort of slanted charm to them in the like the way that they write their NPCs. Where Borderlands 3 just kind of feels like, and it might just be because they haven't really done anything beyond 1 or 2, and so it feels kind of stale. Or maybe they just like double down on everybody's a jerk.
Maybe they were like, people found this entertaining, so let's fill the whole game with this kind of.
Right. It feels a little bit like, because like 1 and 2 kind of feel like, oh, you know, I'm a well-meaning person. Things just don't go right all the time, and I live on a terrible hell planet full of people that want to eat my flesh. Right? That sort of stuff. Whereas in 3, it's just sort of like, yeah, I might have like eaten that guy's fingers off or whatever, but like he stole my gun. It's like, okay.
I see what you mean. It's kind of like if you were in my head, I'm imagining like if you were to have a straight man, funny man routine, but without the straight man. So it's just
exactly.
The whole time.
If everybody is the funny man, or if everyone is the straight man, there's like there's no heart to the comedy.
There's no balance. There's no contrast. Like it's the contrast that makes it funny, right? Because if you have an eccentric character, you want like a normal, like a normie character to kind of like, you know, have that balance so that not everything is about this kooky character who will just grate on your nerves eventually.
Yeah, I think it, like part of the problem is that none of the characters are really that distinctive either. They kind of all blend together. The only really kind of vaguely interesting characters are the ones from other Borderlands games, like you know, the main characters from the previous games, or you know, the main character from Tales from the Borderlands. Actually, that was another that was a cute joke where if you talk to that guy, he gives you like a quest or whatever, and you can choose whether to compliment his mustache or not. And whatever you choose, a little pop-up comes up and it says, "Reese will remember that."
Reese!
which is adorable.
I love it. That's great.
Yeah. I also think that part of the, I will say, I think part of the reason I can't really get into this is I kind of have no idea what's going on. And I think that's because I didn't really keep up with any games that came after 2. So I don't know anything about the pre-sequel, and I don't know anything about Tales from the Borderlands, really.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
But even then, the writing by itself in Borderlands 3, I think is just a little lackluster. Like, it could use a little bit of polishing to make sure that everything feels unique, whereas right now it feels like they all kind of blend together.
Okay, that makes sense. See, my only exposure to Borderlands in general, or at least in-depth exposure to it, is actually Tales from the Borderlands. And I really like the story in that one, though. So maybe
I hear that one was good. I hear people like that one a lot.
Yeah.
And
because I don't know. I feel like they had a better balance of like not everyone's a jerk face. There's people who are obviously way bigger jerk faces than others. So.
Right.
I mean, at least there's that.
That was what was so good about Borderlands 2 is that, like, you know, people are generally terrible because, like, that's the point of like, sort of the Borderlands like thing.
Right.
Where, like, you're living on a terrible waste planet that is, you know, it's basically a forgotten planet. Like, here's the thing about Borderlands is that there is room for it to make very sort of pointed, specific critiques about corporatism and about capitalism, because the entire setup of the game is like that, right? Like Pandora is a Borderlands planet, and so it's basically forgotten after the corporate wars left it a hellscape where like now everything is terrible and irradiated and you just live in space Australia and everybody has guns and like and there is something to be said about like the way in which you kind of progress gradually in terms of power, but ultimately you can't really affect greater change. Like you can only just get enough power to, like, I don't know, kill people. and monsters, I guess. But it's not like it will like fix the setup of the game. It's not like the you can undo the corporate wars and Pandora. Like, the game isn't very subtle about the way that it names planets. Like, Pandora is named Pandora. There's a planet named Athenis, etc., etc., etc.
Sure.
There's one called Eden 6.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's definitely room for Borderlands to be saying things about that. I just don't think that the criticisms in the games themselves are as pointed as they could be. But I mean, that's kind of whatever.
Sure.
That's kind of whatever. Like, sure, it will just provide the setup for like a space apocalypse desert planet where you just like fuck around and you kill people with your guns to get better guns, etc., etc., etc.
Yeah, the core gameplay loop.
Yeah, the core gameplay loop. In terms of the core gameplay loop, they still haven't fixed one of my biggest issues, which is that their way to scale the difficulty is just to make everything a little spongier. And by a little, I mean a lot spongier.
No.
Like, I really think they should just increase the number of enemies and not like their health, really, like marginally, if any, right?
Yeah,
like,
or
okay,
at
this
least
is like a boss.
give them different tactics or something, like make you use your brain space to do something efficient. I don't know.
I mean, to be fair, Borderlands has always had a problem with enemies being just too spongy.
Oh.
And the netcode is always bad. It's just always not good. But other than that, like, it's a fun time to have with your friends.
Okay,
which
that's good.
Doesn't necessarily mean it's a good game. I don't think it's a bad game, but it's not like a great game either, though. But it's a Borderlands game, so I will play it for the extent of its duration with my friends that also like to play Borderlands games. So, I mean, I think that's fair.
I mean, as long as you're having fun, you know. Yeah,
they did a lot of work to the skill system, which I appreciate a lot, because one of the complaints about the previous ones is that you have one skill and everything just makes it like every skill point in your skill tree just makes it so that you have like numerical advantage, which is kind of boring. But like in this one, there's actually, you can customize your skills. There's usually different ones for different characters. You can like swap them out for different ones on the fly. It's really cool.
Okay.
I think that this should at the very least be the baseline for a Borderlands game in terms of like how interesting your skill tree is, because some of them are kind of interesting. They're kind of fun. Overall, I would say it is a Borderlands game. Honestly, I would just wait for it to go on sale and then pick it up. I wouldn't pay full price for it.
Sure, that's fair.
And like, almost certainly, like, they'll at some point release like a collector's edition with like all the DLC or whatever.
I mean, obvi.
And that would probably be worth. I think overall the DLC for Borderlands 2 was also quite good. I just don't think I ever finished it. Like, when I think about it, I think I stopped playing Borderlands 2 when they before they like put in the last couple like expansions, essentially.
Yeah. Okay.
So I have no idea what happens in those. Apparently Scooter dies. I wouldn't know.
Oh. Scoots.
But anyway, so that has been my experience with Borderlands 3. I've been making my way through that slowly but surely, mostly because the people I'm playing with have, I don't know, obligations and school and stuff. Who knows?
Okay.
Work.
Well, I'm glad you're having fun with the game regardless.
Yeah, I'm having a good time. I might actually play some after this anyway. It's kind of a good whatever game that I can just like put on and like mindlessly shoot at things.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's something to be said about that.
I mean, yeah.
Yes. Have you been up to anything else?
I haven't gotten to play too many games, but I went to go see It Part 2.
Okay.
Which, did you ever go see It at all?
No.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, mostly because I don't like horror movies. Yeah. I do not like horror movies.
I wasn't sure if someone had dragged you out to see it or not, because I feel like that would be the only way to have gotten you to watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first one was quite good. I liked it a lot. The second one I liked less, but it was still pretty solid overall, I'd say. And there were parts of it that I just like really did not like, and I was like rolling my eyes during the movie, which is not something you want to have happen during a horror movie. And it wasn't even like the scary bits or whatever. It was like the ancillary stuff.
Uh-huh.
So the scary bits were great because Pennywise is a freaking excellent antagonist, and they portray him really, really well in this in these movies, right? Like, he's freaking creepy. And so when we left the movie, we were like, I mean, honestly, like, they could have showed him more and we would have been just as happy, or we would have been even happier, right? Even though, like, I was scared of him. It's kind of like this mixture of like, okay, he's really, really cool, so I want to see more of him, but at the same time, he's scary, so I don't want to see more of him.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, it was... So, I guess, like, I'll spoil some of the movie now because I know you won't watch it. And
I will not watch it, no.
Yeah.
I know certain things about, like, the general property.
Okay. So, I mean, you know that it's like about an evil clown, right?
Aliens!
Or aliens.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so the first movie was all about these kids that have to face off with the evil clown, Pennywise. And then the second movie, they are now adults and they're having to face off with the clown because they didn't actually completely get rid of it the first time. And so in the book, Stephen King has this, you know, he flips between the time periods like super frequently. So what I appreciate in the movies is that they kind of like, they separate it enough so that you can actually follow what's happening in the story and not get confused, right? Mm-hmm. And so they made some improvements in that respect. But what I did not like was like this stupid romantic subplot. Oh, Soupy. Uh-huh. So in the first movie, right, it's these kids, there's one girl in the group, and of course there's like two boys who like her, right? Mm-hmm. And one of the boys is like, he's the one that's admired her from like day one. Like, he wrote poems about her and like he had this like super duper hardcore crush on her, right? The problem is that she mistakes one of his poems to be written by another boy in the group, and that boy is like the quote unquote like main hero of the group, right? And so at the end of the movie, main hero boy and girl end up kissing, like very like weirdly Hollywood style. Like, it felt super forced. Like, kids should not be like having these romantic, beautiful kisses with the spinning camera around them.
Children
like,
kissing should be terrible and awkward and just being like, oh god, you hit me with your teeth.
Right, exactly. That's what we were talking about after the movie. And so it was so weird. And of course, like, the kid who originally liked her was just like, he felt very scorned by that, and it felt even worse because he was the fat kid, right? So, and so that's how the first movie basically ends, and then the kids like promise to meet up again if this ever happens again or whatever. Mm-hmm. Second movie is about them as adults. It's been quite a long time. And they all are living separate lives. Most of them have moved away from the town that all of this happened in. A bunch of them are married, including main hero boy and girl. Like, they're both married to different people, right? They didn't end up staying together after that. And they have like, for some reason, they can't quite remember exactly what happened in their hometown. But they were able to move on with their lives up until the one friend that stayed back in the hometown calls them, and he's like, bruh, it's going down. And they're like, okay. So they agreed to meet with him, not knowing that what he's talking about is a murder clown.
Right.
And then they start remembering when they arrive, like their memories start coming back, and they don't know why they had forgotten in the first place, like that kind of mysterious thing, whatever. And so anyway, the romantic subplot develops more because when main hero boy and girl see each other again as adults and they have some alone time together, they're like, wow, I'm getting these memories of like when we smooched. And so then they smooch again.
What?
Meanwhile,
no. Whoa. No. That's not how this works. What?
They just start having this romantic connection all over again. It was like, okay, well, all right. So I get why girl, who is now woman, would not want to be with her husband anymore, because they very clearly portray him as being violently abusive, like from the get-go.
Of course,
yes, but with main hero boy, you get the sense that his relationship with his wife is like on the rocks kind of thing, but they're not, like, it doesn't feel, at least to me, to the person I went to go see the movie with, our mutual friend Cole, he was seeing like, oh no, their relationship is done. For me, I was just like, okay, well, they're fighting, right?
Okay, well, no, hang on. Let's be clear here. You're talking about Cole.
Yeah, I know.
Anytime there's any kind of disagreement, Cole's like, fight.
Yeah, so they were fighting because she didn't agree. Like she was supporting him because he's a writer, but at the same time, she, like everyone else, I guess, doesn't like the way that he ends his books, because like they're just not good endings apparently. And so they were fighting about that. And so he felt betrayed because that was when he learned at that moment while they were fighting, was that she also didn't like his endings. And he thought that she was the one person who liked them or something. And that was what they were fighting about.
Jesus Christ.
And so anyway, main guy, girl, smooch. And meanwhile, the kid who had been in love with her, the overweight kid, he grew up and became handsome, suave, skinny, muscular, like dreamboat, right? Kind of type. And he tries to kind of like reconnect with her throughout the movie, because it's so clear that he, despite it being like well over 2 decades, almost like since they've been apart, he's still crushing on her hardcore. He never got over her.
Oh no. No. That is, hey, that's danger. That's big incel energy. That is not cool. No.
And they did the whole, like, they did this thing where they kind of did this in Final Fantasy 15 too, with Prompto, where, when Prompto was a kid, he was also overweight and he felt unpopular, he didn't feel confident, and so he started exercising super hard in order to get close to Noctis. And it was the same with this guy, where he started exercising super hard in order to gain confidence, and he gained success as an architect, etc., so that he could, like, I don't know, I guess, like, because he got rejected that one time, that he felt that he needed to make up for it, kind of thing. And so that's why he became super skinny, muscular, suave, successful guy. The issue I have is that, because even though it seems that she reconnects with him because she finds out, first of all, that he was the one that wrote the poem in the first place.
Which is
kind of
fair.
Towards the end of the movie. Yeah, and so she's like, oh my god, you were the one. And then also he had been looking out for her, and like they had been supporting each other kind of throughout the movie, which is good. Like, it wasn't like a whole like, oh my god, you're so handsome now, I'm so attracted kind of thing. But it almost, like, the fact that at the end of the movie they do get together and they get their happy ending, like, like, you know what I mean?
That's not, no, I don't like that. I really don't like that.
It's quite uncomfortable. And another part is that I know what they were going for in terms of, like, the main guy and the girl, the reason they don't get together is because their feelings for each other were super like, oh, it was just like kid stuff, you know?
I was gonna say that happened 20 years ago. If anything happened 20 years ago, I'd be like, fucking whatever.
Right. And so, but the problem is that they never address it again after that. So they had their smooch. They had a couple of like romantic, like, oh, I caught you while you were falling kind of thing. But then they don't ever have like okay, but we're not attracted to each other anymore. That was just like childhood memories coming back. We're not like that anymore. They just leave off like that. They don't ever resolve that at all. And so I really, really, really hated how they handled all of that. Like, it was just so like Hollywood drama. Like, this doesn't, like, even if it happened in the book, because I haven't actually read the original book, but even if it did, which I don't know if it did or not, it felt very like not good the way that it was portrayed in the movie. And I'm sure people will disagree with me about that. I'm sure that they thought it was fine, and I'm reading way too much into it, which is fine. It just like, it made me feel uncomfortable, and it made me roll my eyes, and it made me like sink down in my seat. Like, I don't want to watch this stuff anymore. Like, just get back to what's happening. That's important, which is the murder clown.
Yeah.
Another thing about this movie is that there was a lot of gays. That no one was like Cole and I were not expecting it at all, which was, it was the problem though is that despite, you know, the gay representation and like, you know, like some of it was very stereotypical, especially in the beginning, right? There was a gay couple. That was the highlight. It was like so painfully stereotypical. Like, at the beginning, it was like fine, right? They seemed like, you know, like just like a usual couple, whatever. And then the gay bashing started when they got cornered by these thug kids or whatever, and there was like a couple adults among them that decided that they were gonna like gay bash these guys and throw one of them into a river after beating him within an inch of his life in front of his boyfriend, kind of thing. Like, it was like. And of course they were throwing all sorts of gay slurs out. Like, that was how they opened with the movie.
Thanks,
right?
Stephen King. Love it.
And I don't know if this was in the original book or not, but if it was, then...
I think it is. Because I've actually heard the same complaint about the original novel.
Okay. So then that's just problematic, like writing in general, which of course it was a different time, whatever.
Thanks, Stephen King.
And then, of course, that conflict ends, you know, after Guy gets thrown into the river, the thugs are like, oh, let's get out of here. Ooh, and then they leave. The other guy, he gets left there and he's like, oh my God. And he jumps in after his lover. He washes up shore, and then he sees that his partner is in the hands of the murder clown. And then he watches his murder clown, his partner get eaten up by a murder clown right in front of his eyes, and that's how they started the movie.
That's just, I mean, like, we obviously don't even have to talk about how it's just gratuitous at that point.
It was wild. And then there was another gay couple not gay couple, but there was another gay individual in the movie who... you find out during the movie that when he was a kid, he actually had a crush on one of the other boys in the group. Mm-hmm. And it was played super low key. Like, I did not realize it. At least if they had put hints in the first movie, I did not realize it, right? And so at the end of the movie, they kind of reveal who it was, and it was one of the guys in the group who died during the conflict with Pennywise. Like, he died super heroically. He was literally my favorite character in this movie, and he dies in that whole like stereotypical like, oh, I did a heroic thing, yay! And then he gets punctured through the chest from behind, and then he gets raised up and then slapped down, like, kind of thing. Like, you see it in like so many different like horror genre media, like in games and movies, etc. Right? That method of dying, and so that's what happens to him. And their dynamic throughout the movie was so funny. Like, they were like, it was like excellently written, like so good. And yeah, anyway, it was another gay couple ruined.
Thanks, Mr. King. Love it.
Yeah.
I feel definitely super safe in your novels.
Yeah.
And not in danger of my life.
There was a lot of problematic stuff in the original novel that I had heard about. So
yeah,
I guess that's just...
it's a little gratuitous, and it's like it's not even the kind of thing where you can be like, well, he's building sympathy for the gay couple. It's like, all right, okay, you can do that without this.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. King, you can do that a little bit better. Maybe don't.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't. Yeah, the thing is, I am like sort of purposefully a little oblivious about the whole it thing, because I don't really like horror movies, but two, I just never was really interested in it, because I also don't really like murder clowns, as it turns out.
How about that?
Yeah, in fact, I actually, now that I'm sort of unlocking my repressed memories, I remember that I used to see the cover for the original It movie in my grandpa's DVD video rental store, and it terrified me to no end. And every time I passed by it, I was like, huh? So
I got uncomfortable just seeing the book cover in my old school library, like when I was in freaking middle school or whatever. I was just like, that sounds like a book that I don't need to read right now.
Yeah, so at any rate, I'm just not a big fan of the property. And it's honestly, I mean, I don't want to be like that person, but it's a little bit just like, yeah, of course. Like, of course, a Stephen King novel written in, like, the 20th century isn't so great about handling gay characters.
Yeah. Well, who would have thought, right?
I mean, it still sucks, and it kind of sucks that they were just like, we're just accurately representing it in the way that it was presented in the novel, in a movie.
I mean, the thing is that they changed a bunch of stuff from the novel, too. It's like they removed one of the most problematic parts of the novel, which was these kids doing things with the one girl in the group.
Oh, I love it. No, thanks, Mr.
King. And at least for him,
yikes,
he in retrospect has looked back on it and been like, yeah, I wish I had not.
I think a lot of people who are creating in that time period have looked back and been like, oh, yeah, that sucks a little, actually.
Actually, I made a big yikes.
Actually, that wasn't really cool, was it?
Yeah.
Which is why I think it's even funnier when people kind of like double down on it. They're like, no, this is artistic integrity. You're censoring me. And like the original creator themselves is like, no, I could have done without that.
Right. It's like, if you wanted to censor it, I'd understand.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know. Maybe don't do that, like that thing where the gay people just do a lot of dying when they do that in real life too. We're cool without it. It's it's kind of frustrating because it's not even that like, well, all gay characters should be immortal, invincible, or whatever. It's just that, like, a disproportionate amount of them die on screen. So at the very least, you could do like the sort of nice thing and make a bunch of stories where gay people don't die, just to even the odds, because it feels a little bit out of whack at this point. Off kilter.
At least they made the characters themselves quite likable.
I guess,
but that was literally the only service to it, is the fact that the characters themselves were super likable, like the two guys in the group who, like the one guy that had the crush on the other one kind of thing. Like those two characters were by far and away the most likable characters of the entire group. Like they were carrying the movie.
Yeah. Also, apparently there's like weird alien stuff in it.
A bit, yeah. They don't obviously talk about it being aliens, but like when lights float down from the sky or an upward place, then you feel like it's either something like a deity or an alien.
Apparently that's just a thing that Stephen King does in his books, where he's just like, it was aliens the whole time, and you're like, okay, hang on.
All right, man. Okay.
Why?
Fine. Yeah. They just do like that.
The thing was fine. You didn't have to bring the aliens. Whatever.
Yeah, like when they started like explaining, I guess, like the origin for Pennywise and all that, and they started bringing like Native American magic into it, and then they started
Mr.
implying
King.
that he came
Once again.
he came from like a meteorite or comet or something from space, and I was like, man, we're going places now.
Sure, why not?
Yeah.
Why not? Yeah. I'm so behind on that sort of it craze, because like it's just never been the kind of thing that I have been interested in personally.
I
don't watch horror movies.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair.
And anybody that knows me knows this.
Yeah. And that's why we make you watch some of them anyway. Just
Yeah, because I hate it. I despise it so much. And you're just like, well, what if we did watch a horror movie, though? And I'm like, I mean, you've trapped me here. I can't leave.
I can't leave. I guess I must watch.
I guess I'll watch it.
Yeah, so I wouldn't make you watch this one. If I made you watch one of them, it would be the first chapter, the first movie. Mm-hmm. Not the old one, but the new one. Because that one was like, I mean, a lot of people compared to Stranger Things, partly because, one of the actors was in it.
Oh, I mean, yeah, of course. Like, there's only so many kids.
Yeah.
There's only so many children in the world, didn't you know?
Right. So it has like that kind of nice like 80s vibe to it kind of thing, so which is nice, but yeah, not this one. This one, like I said, overall quite entertaining. Like Pennywise, was awesome, and they wrote in the horror. The horror too, I feel like could have been a little bit better, because for the first one, even though the horror is a bit silly sometimes, like sometimes the horror manifests via like a old woman in a painting or something like that, right? Mm-hmm. It preys specifically on the kids' fears, right? So one of the kids was afraid of this creepy painting that they had hanging in their house, and that was what the fear manifested into, was the old woman from that painting. Mm-hmm. Or one of the kids was a hypochondriac, and so his fear manifested into a leper. The fears in this movie felt a little less relevant, if that makes sense. Like they weren't specifically preying on the adult fears anymore. Like some of them were like returns from when from the ones when they were kids, like the hypochondriac faces off with the leper again, but this time he manages to beat it. I thought that was cool because it shows like he grew up, yay. Mm-hmm. But some of the other stuff was just like, their friend is now a Spiderhead baby, just like freaking Demon Slayer. Soupy, just like Demon Slayer. I was losing it.
Oh my god. Baby head spiders.
Yeah, so I don't know. Yeah. That was the thing I watched. Cool. Other than that, next month my Star Ocean mobile game is having a collab with Persona, and I'm gonna lose all of my brain cells to this game.
What on earth?
I was so excited. I was like, my favorite RPG series and then my other favorite RPG series are collabing. Because they already did a collab with Final Fantasy Brave Exvius, which is like, okay, well, we got the Final Fantasy collab out the way. And then now all of a sudden it was just like, hey, let's partner up, Atlas. Mm-hmm. So they'll have some of the I think 3, 4, and 5, the protags from those games are going to be coming over to Star Ocean. And then Star Ocean is sending one of their protagonists from the second game to the Persona mobile game. So it's gonna be freaking hype. I think that's what's happening for the Halloween event, or maybe something like that. Yeah, in October.
Well, that's neat.
Yeah, I'm excited. Yay for continuing to play this game that is
that just does you no now. Services whatsoever.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like fun at any rate. That sounds like fun. Your Japanese mobile game.
I still can't read anything.
Wow, it just be like that.
I'm managing.
It just be like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did you have anything else you want to talk about?
I don't think anything too exciting, really. Anything more I really talk about is just probably gonna make the episode longer. And this is one of the quicker turnarounds that we're gonna have for an episode. Probably the quickest.
Yeah.
So this is a real farm-to-table podcast experience you're getting.
Really?
Yeah. It's... I'm gonna go see Promare on Monday.
Nice. I need to go see that.
Yeah, it's funny because I didn't realize that it was premiering when it was, so I was sleeping that day. And then I woke up and I was
realize it. I completely missed the premiere too. Yeah,
I didn't even realize that it was gonna have like limited airings. Even like
Me too.
I wasn't
didn't
even
know.
sure.
Yeah.
But then people were like, "Oh yeah, it like aired tonight," and like people watched it. Like what?
Yeah.
Ah damn!
Just all of a sudden,
damn.
yeah. My friends were like, "Oh my god, I saw Promare. Did you go see it?" And I was like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah. We had to talk about this on Sunday when we did D&D.
Yeah, yeah.
I was like, "What are you talking about? What?
Yeah.
It's out?
Yeah. But it's okay. We can go see it at
It's okay.
certain theaters.
I'm gonna go see it on Monday. And I've heard good things about it. Actually, I've heard some quite good things.
Yeah.
Especially for
I hope it'll be good.
Especially for being like a Studio Trigger thing. Because obviously it's a Studio Trigger movie, so it's gonna look gorgeous. The real question will always be, well, is the writing any good at all?
I know. Look, my expectation when I go in is like the gorgeousness that I saw in the trailer, and that's what I'm here for. And the music. I'm here for the music too.
I'm hoping even if it doesn't blow me out of the water, if the writing is even just as at least as good as Kill la Kill was, I'll be fine with it. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah,
that is the level at which I'm expecting, and it's not a terribly high one, really.
Right.
So like, you know, if you if you do that, I'll be happy. I'll be perfectly content watching a movie that will probably blow my eyes out with how good it looks.
If we both end up watching it, then we can talk about it.
Yeah, I have my tickets ready. Do you have anywhere near you that shows it? Because
Yes, I do.
I had a little bit of trouble tracking one down, and I had to trek into the city at like 9:00, which is gonna be fun.
Yeah, no. If I want to watch it with Japanese language with English subtitles, I have to watch it either at 1 p.m. in the afternoon or 10 p.m. at night.
See, I would rather watch it at 1 p.m. in the afternoon because, like,
yeah,
I don't work right now. I don't have anything to do.
Right. I do though. Well, the problem is I also want to sleep in on the weekends.
Well, that's fair. I would also I would also like the window that was just replaced in my car not to have been broken into again. Okay.
Oh my god.
Have I told you this yet?
No.
Okay. So my car got broken into.
Oh my god.
Because my sister took it out. And left it somewhere where apparently, and she didn't know this, but like people just break into your car for no reason.
So even though they didn't see anything of particular value inside the car, so like a purse or anything?
They looked inside the car and they saw my sister's sunglasses, which are presumably not nothing, right? Like, I'm sure that they were anything. And then, like, that was it. That was the only thing that was stolen in my whole fucking car.
Wow.
And, like, I'm sure that however much the sunglasses were, it's so annoying because I don't keep anything that valuable in my car to have been stolen, which is whatever, right?
Right.
But because they didn't steal anything, now we just have to pay for the broken window.
Right, like the window would cost way more than the sunglasses. Yeah.
Anyway, so that was annoying, and I would like that to not happen again, preferably. But who knows, really? At this rate, who knows? Oh boy.
Oh, buddy.
Yeah, I mean there has been no end to the amount of trouble that my car has gotten into in the last month.
Oh.
Because of my sister. So anyway, she's not allowed to drive it anymore.
Because it was used by someone other than you.
Yeah, so anyway, my sister's not allowed to drive the car anymore.
There you go.
So, presumably it will be safe. I just need it to work. That's really like, I just need, it doesn't have to be great, it doesn't have to be fantastic or perfect, it just has to work. It just has to work. Okay. Okay, so I think that's probably it for me, at the very least. I don't really have anything else to talk about.
Yeah, I think that's all I have updates on that's happened in the past couple weeks.
Yeah. I'm sure I'll remember something after the podcast.
Yeah.
As one traditionally does.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Cool. We did it.
All right. Well, we did it. It's the end of that episode. So let's see. This week our patrons are Frostfall and Gwen. Congratulations. Thanks for the support.
Yay.
All right. Where can we find you on the internet, Renu?
I will be at my usual places on Twitter and Tumblr and Twitch and Facebook.
Facebook.
At SwanDrawn. And Instagram at swan.drawn. This week I will still be working on commissions. I trying to finish up stuff from the summer. And then next month is Inktober, y'all. It's gonna be real.
Oh, yeah. That's a thing.
Yep. It's a thing. It'll happen. So, yeah. That's what I'll be doing.
Nice.
What about you?
You can find me all the places at Literal Soup. I don't know. Like, I tweet stuff. I haven't really been tweeting that often, actually. I've kind of forgotten to. Yeah. I did just get groceries for the first time in like a month because I'm finally home long enough to have groceries that matter.
You can cook.
Yeah, so now I can start cooking again. So I might put some photos of that up and
Nice.
stuff. That sounds pretty good. Yeah, all the places at Literal Soup. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. You know, follow me on the tweeters. That's actually all that I can really think of that is of any relevance whatsoever. But yeah, if you're interested in, I don't know, my antics, that's where you'll find me. You can find the podcast on Twitter at AbsoluteCast, and I did check, and we are now on Spotify. It does take a little bit of work to find us, though, which is kind of a bummer. But we are on there, so if you, I think if you look up like one of our episode titles, that will help a lot more. Because I had a lot of trouble finding Atcast, but I did find it once I was able to put in like, you know, one of the titles of the episodes. So that wasn't too bad. But we are on Spotify technically. Which is, I don't know, cool. We got other stuff, you know, other places where people listen to us. I'm sure that if you're listening to this, you have chosen your podcast vessel. Yeah. How you receive your podcast. As we drop it from the sky and you just gracefully receive it in your baseball mitt.
Where are we going?
I don't know. It's just sort of all over the place. Other than that, I don't know. Like, we're still like angling for any questions about podcasts or anything. So you can send that into our email, which is, I'm fairly certain, absoluteterritorycast@gmail.com. I'm like 95% sure on that one.
Okay.
And you could just send them to us at AbsoluteCast, and we'll just do a little anniversary thing.
That'll be cute.
At the end of the year, it'll be super fun.
I
don't think there's anything really we have to talk about the podcast specifically. Like, there's been a little bit of scheduling hullabaloo, but it seems to be over.
Yes.
Though it seems that
I'm not vacationing anymore.
It seems that every
Till
time
next year.
every time I say that, something else comes up.
Something inevitably will happen.
Something inevitably will happen. Yeah. We're still trying to get through the season. We're so behind on anime. We're so behind.
We're like eons behind, so that'll be fun.
Oh my god. Like, we're so behind that we can't even watch all the anime that we like even really want to watch.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh well. Well, we'll bring you what we can when that rolls around. Oh, I'm looking into Patreon has like a thing where now you can get like the hosting basically directly on the website through Vimeo or something. So you just have to get a Vimeo plan, and that might be a very good place for us to put our seasonal like trailer watches, where we watch all the trailers and we decide what we want to watch. Because you know it's impossible to put it on YouTube.
Yeah.
And nowhere else will really accept a file that big. So, who knows, really? Who knows? Let's hope that's something that works out. Yeah. Sounds like that's about it. I'm not forgetting anything, am I?
Music.
The music? Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Our opening is by Scotty Network, who, by the way, is one of the featured artists on the Steven Universe movie soundtrack.
Ooh.
Do you know that? That's pretty cool, isn't it?
I did not know that. That's super cool.
Yeah, that's super cool. They're amazing, so I'm glad that they're being recognized for their work. And our ending is by Takuma Okada. See you next time.
That was the quietest.
See you next time.
Okay, there we go. There's the ASMR.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Antcast, a podcast for the study of modern visual culture. This is the ASMR episode. It's not.
Don't make it.
And we won't make it. Mostly because that would be one hell of an episode to edit. I would have to edit out so many breaths, it would be awful.
Yeah, that would be all you, buddy.
It would just be editing out a lot of mouth noises, which is not particularly pleasant. So, yeah. Goodbye. Thanks for listening.
See you next time.
Sayonara. また明日ね。